On the hills of Querétaro, on June 19, 1867, a man born into the opulence of the Austro-Hungarian Empire faced his fate. His name was Maximilian of Habsburg, and his dream of building an empire in America ended before a firing squad. This is the story of an emperor caught between imperial ambitions, power struggles, and the ideals of a divided Mexico. Ferdinand Maximilian Joseph was born in 1832, in the heart of Europe, under the glittering legacy of the Habsburg dynasty. As the younger brother of Emperor Franz Joseph I, Maximilian was destined for a life of comfort without significant responsibilities. His passion for science, art, and progressive politics set him apart but also distanced him from the political pragmatism that defined his family. In 1857, Maximilian took the position of governor of Lombardy-Venetia, but he soon discovered that governing was more complicated than he had imagined. After Austria's defeat in 1859, Maximilian lost his position. It was then that fate began to chart a course that would take him far from Europe. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, Mexico was in turmoil. The country was divided between the liberals led by Benito Juárez and the conservatives who dreamed of restoring a monarchy. In Europe, Napoleon III of France saw an opportunity to turn Mexico into a satellite empire to expand his influence. With the support of Mexican conservatives, Napoleon III offered the crown of the Second Mexican Empire to Maximilian. Initially hesitant, Maximilian, influenced by his wife Carlotta and his romantic vision of leadership, accepted the challenge. In 1864, Maximilian and Carlotta arrived in Mexico, convinced they could unite the country and bring prosperity. However, the reality they encountered was far from their dreams. Maximilian attempted to govern as a reformer. He enacted laws benefiting indigenous communities, abolished servitude, and sought land redistribution. However, these measures alienated the conservatives who had brought him to power, while liberals, led by Juárez, viewed him as an illegitimate invader. Maximilian's empire depended entirely on French troops. But in 1866, Napoleon III withdrew military support due to pressure from the United States and the high costs of intervention. Maximilian, however, decided to stay and fight for his empire, a decision that sealed his fate. In 1867, Maximilian entrenched himself in Querétaro with his loyal troops. For months, he resisted the siege by Republican forces. Ultimately, he was betrayed by a member of his inner circle and captured by Juárez's troops. Maximilian was tried by a Republican tribunal and sentenced to death. Despite pleas for clemency from European leaders, Juárez decided to proceed with the execution, arguing that a strong message against foreign intervention was necessary. On June 19, 1867, Maximilian faced his destiny. Dressed in black and with dignity, he asked the soldiers to aim at his heart to avoid disfiguring his face. His last words were, "Viva Mexico." Edouard Manet, although not present in Mexico, was deeply moved by Maximilian's execution, as the event symbolized the failure of a European intervention in Latin America and the cruelty of political conflicts. Manet was also outraged by the passivity of Napoleon III, who had driven the Mexican adventure but later abandoned Maximilian to his fate. Inspired by this episode, Manet painted several versions of the execution of Emperor Maximilian, the most famous being a large-scale piece completed in 1868. Manet's work is a reinterpretation of historical events, influenced by Goya's painting the 3rd of May 1808. In the painting, 1. Maximilian stands at the center, wearing a hat and flanked by Generals Miramon and Mejia. 2. The Republican soldiers are positioned on the right, lined up and aiming their rifles at the condemned men. They wear uniforms resembling those of the French army, which some critics interpret as an indirect critique of France's responsibility for the tragedy. 3. In the background, a bare wall enhances the sense of isolation and fatality. Manet prioritized emotional impact over historical accuracy. The composition conveys the inevitability of the execution and Maximilian's helplessness. When Manet presented the painting, it sparked controversy. Napoleon III's French government attempted to censor it due to its political implications, so it was never publicly exhibited during the painter's lifetime. Nevertheless, it became a symbol of protest and a testament to Manet's commitment to social and political themes. Today, the execution of Emperor Maximilian is considered one of the great works of modern painting. One of its most famous versions is housed in the National Gallery in London and remains a powerful depiction of the emperor's tragic fate and the tensions between power, politics, and art. Maximilian's execution marked the end of the Second Mexican Empire, but his story became a symbol of the tensions between sovereignty and colonialism, and a reminder of the human cost of imperial ambitions. Maximilian of Habsburg, a man caught between two worlds, left a legacy that continues to be debated. He was an idealistic emperor who sought to reconcile a divided country but whose lack of understanding of Mexican realities led to his tragic end. His life is a reminder of how grand ambitions can clash with the complexities of history. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this one. See you in the next video.